Carnage is one of the most iconic and violent Marvel villains, and is in fact even more powerful than Venom, so it should come as no surprise that pretty much everybody besides Sam Raimi was very excited to see Carnage appear on the big screen. Supposedly they were planning to debut Carnage in a Venom solo movie, or in Spider-Man 4 or 5, but what if he was in the same movie that Venom debuted in? What if Carnage was in Spider-Man 3? Now, something important I have to say is that Eddie Brock will not be in this version of the movie. And now, why am I doing this? Well, first of all, Sam Raimi didn't want to include him, and two, I think there's just too many characters, and Eddie Brock was one that I really didn't think needed to be in the story for the Venom stuff to work, so I think it'd be better to just save him for the Venom movie instead. So now, during the house fight between Peter and Harry Osborn in Spider-Man 3, we see a point where after Harry stabs Peter in the stomach, a piece of the symbiote attaches itself to Harry's belt. The rest of the fight goes the same, with the symbiote going unnoticed. Peter still slings the pumpkin bomb back at Harry's face, disfiguring him. However, we see after Peter leaves, the Venom symbiote spreads across Harry's body and into his face scars. The symbiote turns from black to red in the process. Thus, Harry Osborn becomes Carnage. And yes, I know some of you are going to fucking hate this, but honestly, Spider-Man 3 had a lot of villains as it was, and I don't think including Cletus Cassidy would exactly make things any easier. So now Harry doesn't stay out of the movie for quite as long this time. The Carnage symbiote combined with the Goblin formula allows Harry to become twice as strong as he already was, and heal much faster too. So now Peter still goes off to do his emo phase and date Gwen Stacy. He still hits Mary Jane, and he still gets rid of the black suit. However, Peter returns to his apartment afterwards to find it on fire. I mean, we did get a burning house sequence in both of the first two, so why not this one as well? So we see Peter saving Ursula and her father, and Peter finds that all of his belongings have been destroyed, apart from his Spider-Man suit and a photo of him and Mary Jane. But MJ's face has been burnt out, and there's a note attached that just says, "Come and get her, brother." And so now we get a more personal final battle at the end of this movie, one between Peter and Harry, with MJ once again, I'm sorry, being the hostage. Now Harry has gone full-on crazy from the Carnage symbiote. There's hardly any of the old Harry left in him. And now this battle is brutal for Spider-Man, because he can barely get a lick in. Carnage can see out of all sides of his body after all, so Peter's having a pretty hard time outmaneuvering him. Not to mention he can throw projectile weapons made from his own skin, so yeah, Peter's not exactly having a very fun time. And now, if this wasn't bad enough, the Sandman then shows up. However, Carnage isn't interested in teaming up, so it becomes a three-way battle instead. Harry wants Peter all to himself, and eventually Spider-Man and the Sandman are forced to team up, with Sandman buying Peter the time he needs to get MJ the fuck out of Dodge. So now, in the end, Spider-Man and Sandman come up with the idea of burning Carnage, which Peter is pretty hesitant to do, because yeah, I mean, they've been through battles, but he still cares about him. He's still like his brother, or at least his best friend. But in the end, Peter and Sandman are forced to burn and seemingly kill Carnage. So now, after the final battle, we see a very distraught Peter going through the rubble of his old apartment, and he's just looking for photos. He's trying to remind himself that all is not lost, and that's when he's approached by Ursula, who reveals that she did actually see his Spider-Man suit, but she says that she thinks it's pretty cool that he's Spider-Man, and agrees to keep it a secret, even from her father. Now, this is implying that maybe she'll be Peter's love interest going forward, because I mean, Kirsten Dunst wanted to leave the series anyway, so this would be a really easy way to start planting the seeds for a new love interest after her, at least in my opinion. Now, in the final shot of the movie, we see the Carnage symbiote and the Venom symbiote are both still alive, and are preparing to search for brand new hosts, setting up the Venom solo movie that Sony really wanted to make. So yeah, my decision to make Harry Osborn Carnage. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are going to disagree with me on that. But hear me out. I mean, if they wanted to do a Venom solo movie where Carnage was reportedly going to be the main villain anyway, I think it would just make more sense to have Harry be Carnage and then introduce Cletus Cassidy in the Venom movie. You know, same goes for Eddie Brock. You know, I don't think you need the original iconic host to do a Venom versus Carnage story. You know, so I just thought it would be better to kind of save the actual host for the Venom movie to make people want to see it more. Like, if people were really annoyed that Eddie Brock and Cletus Cassidy aren't in this movie, then it would make more people want to go see the Venom movie, because then they'd actually be seeing what they wanted to see. But if people didn't care, I still think we'd get a really good story out of it. I already thought it was a mistake not giving Harry either the Venom or Carnage symbiote, because honestly, I think Harry should have been the final villain. I really wish it hadn't been Venom, because, I mean, Eddie Brock had only been introduced in that movie, and they'd been building up Harry as the main villain for 3 movies. It just made so much more sense for Harry to be the main villain, in my opinion. And for the record, I'm well aware of the fact that you can't exactly kill the host of the Carnage symbiote with fire. I'm well aware that he can regenerate limbs and even regenerate, you know, your head. I'm well aware of that. But, I mean, for the sake of the story, I really do think it was probably for the best to kill Harry off. I mean, it was really sad that they killed Harry off, don't get me wrong, but I do think it thematically made sense, because I don't think James Franco would have wanted to return for Spider-Man 4, and, you know, I just think it would make, you know, for a really poignant and tragic ending to the original trilogy. Especially if, you know, Harry's lost control of himself. Like, the Harry we know would not, you know, use Mary Jane as bait for Spider-Man, but he would do it when he's under the influence of the Carnage symbiote, because Carnage makes him do things that he wouldn't normally do. And he's already kind of crazy from the Goblin formula, so I could imagine Harry going just absolutely fucking nuts if he was Carnage, honestly. So, yeah, I mean, that's just my idea of it. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys disagree with all this. I'm sure that a bunch of you guys are going to get mad at me for not having Cletus Cassidy, but yeah, I just think it makes more thematic sense to just have it be Harry Osborn. I think it would just make it a lot easier for everyone overall. Because, I mean, you already got the Sandman as a secondary antagonist, and you got the plot lines, you know, involving Gwen Stacy and, you know, Mary Jane in the black suit. You know, I just think that introducing Eddie Brock and Cletus Cassidy on top of all that would be pushing it. So I just thought it'd be a lot easier to just do it this way and then save Eddie and Cletus for the Venom movie. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you disagree with me on that, or if you agree with me. Just let me know in the comments down below. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, share with all of your friends and all your various social media platforms. And speaking of social media, make sure to follow me on Instagram, Rinzler_Productions. And remember that I have a new video coming out every single day at 7 in the morning, so make sure to hit that notification bell to stay informed about all of my future uploads, and I'll see all of you in the next video.